Hello, this is Martha Hines, and I am here with Verena Borell. And we are making this video for EA Zoom meetings, and we're honored and very happy to be speaking with all of you today. So we're feeling called to together explore and delve into some of the transits coming up this fall that are particularly strong for each of us and that seem to be also matching the themes that are coming up for each of us in our praying and in our connection with the spirit world. So Verena, I'll let you introduce yourself and then we can say more about what those transits are.
Yeah, I'm Verena Borell and I'm an evolutionary astrologer and I'm living in Austria. And I'm super happy to be here with you together, Martha, because I think we both have almost every time so similar. We receive so similar guidance, and I really love to talk with you about transits and energies, especially. And yeah, so today we want to share what comes up for us when we feel into the energy of fall and when we ground it into our astrology knowledge and into the astrological transits, which are just reflections of an overarching evolutionary flow, of an evolutionary curriculum for every soul and for the collective. So that is really important for me to mention, because I think it's so important that we always remind ourselves that transits and planets are not doing anything with us, but that they are just a reflection of the overarching stream of evolution. And therefore, every transit, every energy offers the opportunity for growth and evolution on a personal and on a collective level.
Yeah. And just to say a little bit about myself, I'm Martha Hines and I'm in California, Goleta, California, near Santa Barbara. And similar, I also have studied evolutionary astrology, and we are both students of Ari Moshe Wolf. And but I also incorporate some, I guess you could say, shamanic astrology-ish stuff. And I'm going to be studying with Heather Ensworth this coming year. And so my approach is definitely influenced by Heather, and also very strongly led by spirit. So you and I, one of the reasons we resonate so much is because we both have a very strong connection to our own spirit world, the spirit world. And so what I value about astrology is that I like to be very grounded in the facts of it and the teachings of astrology. And at the same time, for me, life comes first. Astrology is a reflection of life, similar to what you're saying. So so the way that I work with astrology is that I go deeply into my own praying, and I get very strong messages every day of, the energetics of what's happening, the energetics of what I'm being called to do, the energetics of what I'm being called to share. And then I essentially get told what to look at in the astrology that is a reflection of what I'm getting in my prayers. So that's very key in the way that I approach astrology, is that it's reflecting the energetics that are present as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, totally true. And as you know, I work with the Akashic Records, and it's very confirming that often what I'm being told in my prayers or in my Akashic Records, and then I look at the transits and at the astrology, it's same. So I think maybe we should say about which transits we want to talk, and then maybe we start, or you can start, Martha, with the themes that are coming up for you, and so we will go with the flow, I guess. So we wanted to talk about Mars' upcoming retrograde phase in Gemini, in a square to Neptune. And we will talk about the upcoming Saturn-Uranus almost exact square. And we will talk about Venus underworld phase. And we will ground that into the charts, but maybe we really start with your transmissions and insights around the upcoming energy, and I will take it from there. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And one thing that I'll just sort of throw in as we're talking is what's been really highlighted for me about the Hygeia, how Hygeia is playing into exactly what you're talking about there too. And by the time this video comes out on EA Zoom, I will have already actually recorded a talk for EA Zoom about Hygeia. So if you haven't seen that video yet, that will be an entire talk all by itself for all of you, which I'm excited to do tomorrow. But by the time this comes out, it won't be tomorrow, it'll already be past. Anyway, so but the big theme that has been coming through in my prayers over and over and over again when I'm looking ahead is the spirit world saying, release the stories. And I could say a little more about that in a minute once we're talking, but it seems very similar to some things coming through for you. And just to briefly say what that message seems to be about is the idea that the only way for the energetics of ourselves to be truly, quote unquote, free, as if we return to the state of being that's our natural state of being, where there are no stories, there is no karma, there is nothing other than ourselves as the particles of infinity. Like literally, we're just energy, we're just God, whatever word you want to use, the divine. And when we release fully into that state of just being infinity, then suddenly we have the ability to allow the intelligence of the divine to do what it needs to do, whatever that happens to be. And there's so much more there, but that's the big theme coming up for me, and it is so related in my mind to Mars in Gemini, Mars about to go retrograde in Gemini, the Saturn Uranus square, just Uranus being on the North Node, period, on and on and on. Yeah. So
totally. For me, what comes up is same but different. What I'm being told is follow the path of self-liberation. Let go of expectations from others and of self-expectations. Really focus on truth, and a very, very big message is self-liberation is just the base for that wants to come through you when you are free from old stories, from conditionings, so that you are free to be an instrument and a vessel for something that is waiting to come through to you. Yeah. And therefore we have to release the stories, the old fixed ideas, and really, it is really about focusing on ourselves and doing the inner work and letting go of fixations, how things have to be or how we want to do things. And I think that is so strongly, and also your message, this let go of old stories, that is so related to Mars retrograde in Gemini. I think it is so much about this. With Mars in Gemini, we can have this logical, very fixed plans, action plans, how we want to act, how we want to do the things, how it should go. We have our willpower connected with very logical thinking patterns, and And I think that especially in the square to Neptune, and I can maybe share my screen to show the day when Mars is going retrograde on October 30. So we have Mars in Gemini, and the square to Neptune is not yet exact, but then we have Mars square Neptune on October 11, the first time. Then we have it a second time on November 19, with Mars retrograde and Neptune retrograde. And then we have the third pass when Mars and Neptune are both direct in March 2023. And I think that, and yeah, Mars will go direct. Do you have the date?
I didn't
direct.
pull it up, but I can look for it. I have it here.
Okay, because
it's in January maybe, but let me look.
It's definitely in January, but I don't have the exact date. So Mars will go retrograde on October 13th.
Oh, January 12th, 2023.
January 12th. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll go direct at 8 degrees 7 minutes Gemini. Yeah.
And I think especially with Neptune, we have this opportunity to really surrender and dissolve old beliefs, mental fixations on certain goals and actions, to really surrender our logical willpower and this fixations on certain ideas and concepts, and let go of our logical plans. And I think that maybe we must experience that our logical action plans will not work, so that we can surrender ourselves to something that is bigger and more in alignment with a higher truth than our logical plans. So this Mars square Neptune for me feels so much like bringing our personal will into alignment with truth, with love, with something that we cannot plan with our little tiny cute human brains. And therefore, I think it is so important to really, and that is a note to myself too, to really trust when maybe our wonderful controlled plans are not working out, and be Gemini flexible and open and curious. What is maybe waiting for us that we cannot think about now? And I think Gemini is so much about this deep wisdom about not only dualities, but a variety of possibilities. And I think when we really allow our minds and allow our thoughts to become clear and to let Neptune waves wash through our whole system, so that we become clear and a vessel, that completely new opportunities and portals can open. And I think the challenge here is, and we experienced in 2021, Neptune squaring the lunar nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius. And we had lots of confusion. And it was kind of difficult to know what is true and what not. And I think with Mars, with this Mars-Neptune square, we have as a challenge the feeling of being overwhelmed, being powerlessness, because everything what we thought, how it should be and how we want to act, everything could maybe be washed away. And I think there is this challenge that we can feel overwhelmed and powerlessness, but that we don't stay there, that we allow ourselves these feelings and emotions, but that we don't stay there, but that we see this confusion as a possibility to find a new order, quote unquote, that is in alignment with something that is a bigger truth. But I will stop here.
I completely agree with all of that. The image I keep getting lately also is when I think about Mars, in the sense of being an energy that's forging our path, and you know how Ari Moshe Wolf talks a lot about Mars being sort of what's leading our directing our path. How does he say it?
The Jeffrey Wolf Green said,
okay.
Mars is the leading edge of our soul's evolution.
There you go. That's it. Yes.
And Ari says that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I think of it like that, I keep getting this image of Mars in Gemini, right? And this message I keep getting about releasing the stories. So I keep getting an image of like a field of wheat or a field of corn or something tall, some kind of grains. And this energy of Mars forging this path through the wheat or through the corn or whatever it is. And we have all these pathways in our mind of storylines, of logic, of whatever. And Mars in Gemini could be us, you know, really like intensely holding onto something and just having will and, you know, wanting what we want, or it maybe it is an energy that could help us forge the new path, and with the help of that square to Neptune, maybe just let the divine, you know, be the thing that's clearing the way for these new, whatever it is that we maybe don't. It's like this combination of Gemini with Neptune is really fascinating, because if Gemini is a wide array of options and, you know, a beginner's mind, then Neptune with Gemini could be infinite possibilities, an infinite array of stories, you know, or whatever it is. And Mars maybe in Gemini squared to Neptune could be like this energy, just allowing the divine to clear the way through that field, you know, something like that.
Totally. And I think here with Mars and Gemini square Neptune, there is this fine line between aligning one's personal will with a higher truth and being completely overwhelmed and confused because of this vastness of possibilities, and because our little brain, as I already said, needs something to hold on to. Mm-hmm. And I think here is this Mars retrograde, stepping back, becoming clear, letting spirit guide us, mm-hmm. letting go of our need to always act and react, and really taking this autumn some time for ourselves to retreat, to calm down, to not being this hasty forward movement all the time, but really on a very daily basis to translate it into our daily life. Do meditation, do things that calm your mind. Because Mars and Gemini, I have it natally. It can be very nervous. It can be very overwhelming on a mental level. And really practice breath work or meditation to really become clear of what ideas and plans and goals are actually just in my head because an old version of myself wanted that, or I have this self-expectation that I'm this or that, or others have this expectation that I'm this or that. And I think too that what is really worth to say is that Mars is the lower octave of Pluto. And Mars, when Mars is stationing retrograde, he builds an inconjunct to Pluto. So there we have this connection between Mars and Pluto. And I think Pluto in Capricorn is so much about this deep deconditioning process. And I think here is something about letting go of all of these ideas around our roles, around our what we should do, about expectations, and really so that our mind can be clear and Mars can really be the servant of our soul. So our actions can really be in alignment with our soul's desires. And I had this realization. I quickly want to share this, and then I want to hear from you what you think about this. But I started to do horse riding when I moved to Austria, and I had this realization about Mars when I was doing horse riding this week, and I felt under me this strong horse, this animal body, this raw energy, and I'm this tiny, in comparison to my horse, this tiny person. And I am here to guide this raw energy.
Wow.
And this wild animal. I mean, when I fall from my horse, it's really dangerous. Yeah. And I had this realization that this horse underneath me is a reflection of my own animal body, my own raw energy, my own life force. And our life force, our raw energy, must be guided with our mental strength, with our willpower. And I think we need clarity in our mind and decondition from old stories so that we can channel our energy, that we can guide our energy constructively. And there is this big difference between the control of energy, which comes with repression and oppression, which would mean that I try to control and repress this horse, and this will not work because the raw energy is always stronger. And I have this different idea of channeling energy. And that means the transformation of raw energy into a constructive force and form. So I guide my inner raw energy, the horse, with love and with clarity, so that this raw energy can transform into something that is constructive and that is, a positive force, so to say. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's beautiful. Something that's coming to me as you're talking also is, and this might segue into something else. So if you have something else you want to say, go back and say it for sure. But is the contrast or the differences between Uranus and Neptune, and because both are playing so strongly in various transits this fall, right? And so as you're talking, I'm thinking about the fact that on August 1st, we just had this Mars conjunct Uranus conjunct the North Node. And for me, Uranus, and I think for you too, is so much about the intelligence of the divine, which is subtly, but it's different from, but related to the Neptunian sort of release into the all that is. So, I mean, on one hand, I'd just be curious to hear your thoughts about the contrast of this Mars-Uranian conjunction energy versus the Mars-Neptune square. And then there's other things I could say, but yeah, that's what's coming up as you're talking, is that they've both been playing, and they both feel very important.
Yeah, completely. I totally agree. And I think it's so interesting that Mars is in Gemini, and Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, is the lower octave of Uranus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's really interesting. And I see it, or how it feels for me is what I see in my life and what I see in the life of my clients is really strongly this project that when Mars conjunct Uranus at the end of July, it was like really a breaking free. Having the now, after, I felt this transit building up the whole summer since spring.
Yep.
And it was around the time of the transit and the week before and the 2 or 3 weeks before, it was really this, now I have the courage, Mars, to really take the decision, to take the step, to really break free, to say, no, I really want to self-liberate. I will let go of these old, too tight corsets, of these limiting structures, thoughts, ideas around myself. And I really want to break free. And I know that will confront me with all kinds of shame, guilt, and so on. But I really will connect with my higher self, Uranus, with the soul's isness, with my soul's isness, with really this authentic Uranian energy, the soul, how I am, untamed, deconditioned.
Yeah.
And now I have the feeling that this Mars retrograde gives us the opportunity to even deepen this process and really bring our Mars power, our willpower, into a kind of slowing down, so that we can really transfer our needs to self-liberate into our actions and into our mental space, so that we maybe find new neuronal pathways and find new thinking pattern, or new ways to think and new ways to act that is in alignment with these initiations, with these seeds that we hold in our hand from the Mars-Uranus conjunction. And Uranus is still on the North Node.
Yeah.
And will build the square with the almost exact square to Saturn. So we have, this is an ongoing energy that we have Uranus with the North Node. And during the Mars retrograde phase 2, that's what comes up for me.
Yeah. Right. And then that brings in, right, exactly. And also, so Saturn has been squaring the nodes. And so what's coming up for me around all of that is also this very strong theme in my praying and my work lately, which is a very strong emphasis on a need in our collective to come into a new relationship with our nervous system, literally. So this other gigantic theme coming through in a lot of what I'm being called to do in the world right now is around the spirit world wanting to support us essentially in healing from this, what I would call a collective state of chronic PTSD, right? So I was a therapist for a really long time, and basically all I did in all of my time as a therapist was work with trauma. So that's like, but so I look at our world and I feel that we're all basically have a certain version of PTSD, not clinically, but like on a certain level, right? And it just clicked for me, I think it was last night or this morning, that with Uranus on the North Node, and then especially with Hygeia opposite coming to it's not a long transit that Hygeia will be opposite Uranus, but it will be opposite Uranus exact on September 5th. I feel Uranus and then also Hygeia trying to liberate us or open us up to a divine intelligence around grounding and soothing our nervous system so that we can find new ways to hopefully, to not be in a trauma state, to be more in our parasympathetic nervous system, and to come back into relationship with ourselves, with the earth. And really, really key is with Saturn squaring the nodes, I feel like, and in Aquarius, I feel like maybe one of the intentions of that energetic is also for us to rethink of our relationship to Saturn and that Saturnian energy. And it's going retrograde in Aquarius, squaring the nodes, squaring Uranus, it's going to be squared by Hygeia too. It feels like an opportunity for us to remember Saturn as yin, and this more patriarchal, intense idea of authority that's been more prevalent for us, to help us to relax and come into a sense of remembering that Saturn energy at its essence is actually a yin energy and is there to hold us gently, not to force anything. And so then when that energy is there holding us gently, then suddenly our nervous systems literally can relax into a soft yin holding, as opposed to a harsh other way of, being yelled at or whatever it is. Yeah.
I just have this image that I think sometimes shared already with you, Saturn as the cup who holds the water, or the bed of the river so that the river can flow. And what you are saying about our nervous system and a chronic state of panic or trauma, I see this as a challenge, as an opportunity this fall for every individual soul and the collective to really, as you say, reprogram our nervous system, or maybe taking our own panic and trauma state as serious and tending to ourselves with love and care. I have in my natal chart, I have a Mars-Uranus opposition. It's exact. And so I have these energies that we are now have in the fall with this strong Uranian, Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus on the North Node, the strong Uranian energies, plus Mars in Gemini, retrograde. I have it in my chart a little bit, this loaded Mars Uranian energy, and it's getting on my nerves. Really, it's stressful. It's on a mental level, an immense pressure and anxiety. And I think I feel this in the collective. And especially after 2 years of a global pandemic. And I think that it's really about, with this Saturn and Aquarius squaring the lunar nodes, I feel Saturn too as creating spaces where we can actually relax. So building Saturn really spaces and groups and places safe places for ourselves, safe places for us together with others, where we can be our authentic selves, and where we can maybe hold ourselves with all of these anxiety and uncertainty, which maybe come in a strong way with this Mars-Neptune square, which I already mentioned, that there can come this feeling of, oh, wow, everything is washing away what I thought it's gonna be or who I am. And now I can take this opportunity to really take the seeds from the Mars-Uranus conjunction and really return to my essence and translate my essence and my truth into my actions, which are, when they coming from the heart, always in alignment with the higher truth. But I think that there is something about really holding ourselves, giving ourselves the space to feel and to be anxious and to be soft and gentle with ourselves. And as you said, I have this strong feeling about the deconditioning of the Capricorn archetype and the return to the original Capricorn, which is Earth and Yin, since especially the Venus in Capricorn cycle that started in January. And for everybody who is watching, I already did a whole video for EA Zoom about the Venus cycle in Capricorn, because how I feel it is really about this returning and the reclamation of this Yin Earth Capricornian energy, which is so much about being self-responsible for our emotional needs, being self-responsible and self-sovereign, and detached from outer authorities who want us to be in a certain way, and to let go of these rigid beliefs around work and achievements and so on, and really come back to the sea goat of Capricorn that can climb the mountains but also can let go and flow into the water. And I always have, when I think about a healthy Capricornian energy, I have always this image of a tree. And a tree is always is structured. A tree is structured, and it has a tightness, and it is grounded, it is rooted, but it always grows. And the structure is constantly rebuilding itself. So a tree is in a constant restructuring and structuring phase, because it is constantly growing. And within this slow but steady growth is always the structure and the tightness, but at the same time a flow of energy. And I think when I think about Saturn, I think always, or the healthy version of Saturn, I think structures that allow us to flow.
Yeah. And when I really go deeply into the Saturn energy and the Capricorn energy, especially in relation to Uranus and Aquarian energy, what I feel is very similar. It's like the ultimate purpose of that Saturnian Capricornian energy is to gently hold us in whatever way is exactly right for that moment, for us to be able to manifest as the beings of the divine that we are, in the way that we need to in that moment. And then also ideally that Saturnian Capricornian energy will shift and change continuously to be in, sort of flow, like similar to what you're saying, so that we continuously are held in exactly the way that we need in line with the intelligence of the divine. But that means shifting maybe from moment to moment. That's like the Uranian energy kind of keeps it in flow. It's this beautiful balance between the Uranian and Saturnian, like that they're friends, instead of fighting. Like, I like to think of them as working in tandem really well, especially with this 3/4 square. They don't have to fight. They can get along really well.
Oh, I love that, Martha. And I think it's so much about this, always this dance almost between Saturn and Uranus. With Uranus, we are zooming out. We're gaining the higher insights. And then we return and we integrate Saturn. And then we are zooming out to become not too crystallized. And then we return again and integrate again. And it's like a beautiful dance, and it can be a flow. It's not just about Uranus always just being up and out. And it's not about, because I think we both have very open channels. But when I'm just in this higher chakras, in my crown chakra, and I don't ground it into my life and bring it back, it's actually not serving me and others, because my soul decided to incarnate in karnas, in flesh, to incarnate in a body on planet Earth. So it's my soul's decision to not only hang around in the universe and in the spheres, but also to bring it back to Earth and to manifest Saturn it into life. Manifest comes from manos, which is Latin for hands. So to really bring it into something that we can feel, that we can touch on, that we can build with our hands, which is inspired by our higher Uranian insights. And I think it's so interesting, and I really want to know what you think about that. I mean, we had this 3 exact Saturn-Uranus squares in 2021. In February, in I think July, and the last was in December. And now we have this almost exact Saturn-Uranus square, and the whole, it's a last quarter square. And the conjunction, the cycle, is actually in Sagittarius.
It started in Sagittarius?
It started in Sagittarius. So we have the seed of an Saturn-Uranus cycle in Sagittarius, which is all about coming back to our truth, to our nature, to natural law, to what feels true. Sagittarius is about this truth that we gain and the wisdom that we gain with our that we gain when we are on our journey, when we experience things. So this really coming back to our true nature for me.
Do you happen to know what degree in Sagittarius?
I mean, I have almost the exact conjunction. I don't know in which, I actually don't know, but later I think in the 3rd decade. Okay. In the 20 degrees. Yeah,
I was curious if it's somewhere near like the galactic center or something like that.
Yeah, I think it is, because I have Uranus on the galactic center, and I have Saturn balsamic to Uranus.
Wow. Yeah. And I was born with a 3/4 square Uranus Saturn.
So I would love, I would love to hear how you see this 4th Saturn-Uranus square after almost 1 year that we had the last exact Saturn-Uranus square, and maybe this reflection about that it is in a Sagittarius cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that it was in a Sagittarius cycle, so I would need to feel into that a little bit. But just in general, what I can say is that people do tend to talk about the Saturn-Uranus square in a kind of scary or upsetting way, and maybe it's partly because I have it natally. So I've been getting my exact opposite, my exact Uranus opposition last year, and my exact Saturn opposition last year at the same time, because my Saturn Uranus are exactly flipped what's happening in the collective right now. But I just feel like that dance, like I already said, is so positive. And it does seem, I mean, given that it wasn't a Sagittarian, it's coming from the Sagittarian conjunction, I can see how it's related. This is me just coming off the top of my head. This isn't not, I'm not really feeling into it yet because I need a little bit of time, but I can see how it's related to all of what we just did with Sagittarius South Node, and all, like you were talking about, all the confusion and the trying to understand what's real and what's true. And but that's just me spouting, like that's not yeah.
Yeah, I think too that with this, what I'm feeling with this fourth almost exact degree last quarter square is, I think that here is such a, and it will happen when Mars is still direct.
Yeah, they'll be with Uranus and Saturn will both be in the 18-degree area, September 30th to October 11th. So it'd be before Mars goes retrograde.
But yeah. And I have this feeling that maybe because we all already had 3 hits last year. And I think now we have maybe some topics and themes from last year will come up, maybe. But I think that we grew so much, and we had in between the Mars-Uranus conjunction, and so many realizations. And I hope, or I think that maybe some of these challenges that we experience between this, shall I hold on to old structures and to maybe known but a little bit too tight self-concepts and concepts of my life, or shall I break free and Uranus go into the unknown and be the fool from the tarot card who steps into the unknown? And I think that last year it was really hard for many souls to feel this in between, shall I go or shall I stay? And I think now, for me, it feels very much like, and Saturn will then leave Aquarius next year and enter into Pisces. And I think that there can be maybe a repetition of certain themes, but now we can maybe have completely new perspectives on that, and can feel that we evolved, and that we now can experience this no longer maybe as a challenge and as a fight, but more as this dance between Saturn and Uranus that we already described, and really connect to our higher self and build structures that are now in alignment with our higher self. And then Mars goes retrograde, and we can even deepen our connection to what really wants to come through, and let go of still fixed ideas and surrender even more into the truth that we are. And I mean, Venus will be in the underworld during this whole phase.
Yeah, and the last thing I feel like I want to say, we are getting close to an hour, is I just keep seeing Hygeia on that south node. It's there right now. It just passed. So Hygeia was conjunct the south node a couple of days ago as we're recording this. It will be exactly opposite Uranus on September 5th, and it'll be exactly squaring Saturn. I think it's September 9th or 10th, just before the full moon in Pisces. And So when I feel, I'll be making this whole video tomorrow just about Hygeia, but just the one thing I feel like I should say is one of the elements of Hygeia that I find so fascinating is that she's related to clearing, like cleaning out wherever she happens to be, right? Like hygiene as part of health is a really big part of her energetics. So that's really fascinating. She's in Scorpio on the South Node, opposing Uranus squaring Saturn, right? So she's, one way I can feel that is, it's like she's like the healer with the broom, like clearing out our psyche, our connection to our deep psychological soul reality, on the South Node. Scorpio in the South Node in Scorpio conjunct Hygeia is like, that's just the image I get, is we just have this opportunity to deeply, deeply release crap, like junk, from our deep, 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 deep soul self. And that is part of releasing the stories, like releasing even these deep psychological soul level stories that we have. And she has this wisdom where she's saying, yeah, let it go, let it go. And I'll say more in this video tomorrow, but tap into that wisdom of the divine as your body, as the earth, Uranus and Taurus on the North Node. As she's opposing Uranus, it feels to me like she's helping us just like come right into alignment in our body, in the wisdom that we know through our earth selves, and then clear, 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 clear. Like she's just an extra energy helping us to clear stuff, gunk. Like I just feel in myself this black, I want to call it bile, but it's not really, I don't know what it is. It's like this black tar that's just going in the last few days, like out of my body, in my praying. And I keep seeing Hygeia in Scorpio on the South Node helping with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It feels like a deep, deep cleansing process or a deep detox process on all levels.
Yeah.
And what was coming up for me when you were speaking is too that she can help us to really clean out and clear out all of these Scorpio emotional entanglements where we put our energy and our power away.
Yeah.
And I think that especially this Venus in the underworld phase, Venus started her cycle in Capricorn in January in a conjunction to Pluto. And during the underworld phase, she will have her Sun conjunction, which is called exterior conjunction, where she is furthest away from the Earth. And this is the halfway point of her whole 90-month-long cycle. And there she will again meet Pluto, but now in a square.
Wow.
So she will not be longer merged in a conjunction with Pluto, but she will look at Pluto from a distance in a square. And I have this feeling that it is so much about, and she is in Libra, Pluto's in Capricorn, Venus and the Sun will be in Libra. So there is this, where am I entangled and in maybe codependencies in relationships? Where did I give my power away? Where can Hygeia help me to really clean out all of these chains that hold me back? All of these chains within relationships, within the relationship to myself, the expectation from others, Venus and Capricorn cycle, roles that I'm playing that are not in alignment with my truth, with my higher consciousness, with my higher self, with the divine, with my soul's isness. And Hygeia can help to clean out, and we can let go of the stories as your guides are telling you, and as my guides are telling me, and really decondition, self-liberate, and become more and more what I am being told is so much to be focused, to stay focused on what is really true, and let go of what is no longer serving me. and what is no longer serving us.
Yep. Beautiful.
And what you said about the body and Hygeia, I think it's so, so important, because with Uranus and Taurus, and we will have this Uranus and Taurus transit for some years, I think until 2026, when I'm right. It is so much about the wisdom of our body.
Yeah.
So this Uranian energy, which is so much about our higher chakras, but really grounding into the earth, becoming an antenna for higher frequency with our body. The more embodied we can get, the more grounded we can get, the more we can receive from something that is higher than us, or from the divine. Yeah.
And I also keep getting shown ourselves as, the temple that we are. And we're in this Virgo, we just had this Virgo new moon. And last week I had a workshop about it was a channeled guided experience of ourselves as temples. And so then I feel Hygeia there, if we are able to experience ourselves really as that literal temple that we are, as our bodies, as our energetic beings, as ourselves, then Hygeia is like a part of ourselves that comes in as the temple cleaner almost, like she's like clearing it out and loving us, that beautiful, exquisite temple that is us, as that intelligence of the divine, as body, as earth. She can help us continually clear that temple and clean it and keep it in integrity. And then, this is a whole other subject, but then as we move into more of that Libra energy in the next few weeks, it's like, to me, it feels like she's helping to ground and clear and clean that Virgo temple that is us, so that we can then practice being the temple, even when we're in relation to an other, and more in that Libra energy. But that feels like a totally different topic for another time, but
that feels totally in relation to the Venus underworld phase, and this decondition and letting go of stories that we maybe tell ourselves how we have to behave in relation to others.
Yes.
And how we maybe have to fulfill the expectations of others. And that maybe the expectations that we have in regards to ourselves, what we expect from ourselves, are sometimes even stronger, or that the expectations of others are just a reflection of our inner subconscious self-expectations, and that we even let go of these stories to really can be in our Uranus and Taurus, really self-sovereignty. North Node in Taurus, I think it's so much about self-sovereignty and self-trust, and a healthy way of independence, so that we can be in relationships without losing our own authority. Venus and Capricorn's cycle. And and allowing ourselves to show up in a very authentic way.
Beautiful. Yeah. I feel like we should wrap up.
I think so too.
We could talk for 3 more days.
And I'm really excited about this Mars retrograde in Gemini. I think there are so many opportunities, and I think that it is together with the Saturn Uranus square, really again a huge opportunity to decondition and to self-liberate, so that we can be free for something that is really wanting to come through us.
Exactly.
So,
beautiful. Go ahead. Do you want to share? I feel like maybe we could both share what's coming up for us, including for you and me together. So
I just wanted to say that you may want to share, or that we shall share. We have one project together. We will hold a wonderful workshop about asteroid goddess Diana, And when you are watching EA Zoom meetings regularly, I already did a talk about asteroid goddess Diana, and maybe you want to watch that. And I recorded a talk for Martha's YouTube channel too about Diana, and we both, because Diana is Martha is so connected to Diana too, we both will hold a workshop where we dive deep into the astrology of Diana, and this will take place on September 14th.
And you can be available. I mean, you can be present live, or you can have the recording afterward. Yeah, it's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is 7 p.m.
in European Central Time in
Yeah.
Austria and Germany. Yeah. And yeah, it's because it will be recorded, you can do the workshop when you watch this video now in the past. Yeah.
You can have it anytime. If you're seeing this and it's after September 14th, 2022, it's always available on either of our websites, right? Mine is, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
And you have other offerings, I think.
Yeah, I do. So the big things coming up for me in September 2022 are on Thursday, September 8th, I'm holding a first of monthly, what are called Deep Peace and Healing group sessions. So they're related to what I was talking about earlier about the spirit world really wanting to support us in reconditioning our nervous systems to come out of our sympathetic, more fight or flight mode that I think a lot of us tend to be in, a lot of high anxiety, to come back into our parasympathetic nervous system and to be just held. So that's September 8th, which is a Thursday. And all of these things are available on my website at livingtheonelight.com. So September 8th is that Deep Peace and Healing session. Then September 14th is the Diana workshop with you, Verena. And then on September 17th, which is a Saturday, I'm also doing a monthly gathering, which I just started a couple of months ago, which is called a Soul Wisdom Community Gathering. And in that gathering, it's going to be a channeled message and experience around this theme of releasing the stories. So every month, the spirit world essentially tells me what is the big theme that they want to talk about. And once a month, I hold a gathering where I channel a message from them and like a healing experience. So that's going to be the theme of that meeting. And I try to keep the price very reasonable. So you can come to that for as low as $22 a month. I'm just trying to keep it really accessible for people. And then at the end of September, I'm still contemplating what I'm going to do, but I'm considering holding a workshop on the healing of Libra, specifically talking about what we just talked about, which is how to be in that temple that is us, and that more, essentially the relationship between Virgo and Libra. So Virgo comes right before Libra, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that when we're in that, we learn to really work with the healing energy of Virgo. It then assists us when we're moving into that more relating way of being in the Libra energy. So I'm considering holding a workshop on that at the end of around equinox.
Wonderful.
Yeah, but I'll have all of that on my website, livingtheonelight.com. And
yeah, I would just quickly share that I offer evolutionary astrology readings in German and English language. You do so too, Martha, I know that. And,
but only in English, not in German.
Yeah. Me in German and English.
Yeah.
And you can send the best way to contact me and to book a reading. So my bookings are open for the rest of the year, and you can send me an mail@verenaborell.com. I'm sure we will link it in the show notes underneath the video. And another thing that is maybe interesting for you, if you speak German, I will do a second round of my Living Astrology Intense program, where we really deepen our astrological knowledge and bring astrology into our lived experience. And we will start a second round at the end of this year, and you can already sign up. And for my English speaking listeners or audience, I am planning to do an English speaking and in English language, an astrology program, which is very much about flowing constructively with the transits, with the energy, and creating community and bringing astrology into life, or live astrology too. And this will be next year, but the best way to be in contact is when you sign up for my newsletter list, and there will be a link underneath the video too. So I invite you. My newsletter is free, and I'm sharing all of these news and my astrology and intuitive insights regularly via my newsletter. So feel free to sign up. Yeah, and one last thing, my book about asteroid goddess Diana is in its editing process, but I really hope that it will come out and be published this fall or winter. I will pray to Mars that I find new solutions how I will publish it, and that everything will go its way. But yeah, the Diana book will be available and be on my newsletter list, and you will be informed by me when it is out.
Beautiful. And your newsletters are like eating some amazing food. I don't know. I love your newsletters because they're just so beautiful and really like edible.
Oh, thank you
so
so much.
enjoyable. I highly recommend them.
And I highly recommend Martha's workshops and gatherings. They are so healing. Yeah.
Thank you.
But now I would say thank you, EA Zoom meetings, for letting us channel something about the transits, and thank you for watching. And yeah, I really hope that you could take something away from this conversation for your personal soul's evolution. Yeah,
and I second all of that. And I also say that I love hearing other people's reflections on these energies. I feel very strongly that no one perspective, including my own, is the correct way at all.
yeah.
And I really value holding space for each person to come into their own relationship with these energies, and to let the wisdom of the divine move through each of us in exactly the way it's meant to move through only me and only you and only you. And, it can only come through each of us precisely the way it comes through each of us. So we're the unique, tuning fork. That's the spirit world often says that to me. We are a tuning fork of the divine. And so that song that like gets sung through us can only come through us. So one of my favorite things is hearing your perspectives, other people's perspectives on all of these energies, and that wisdom that needs to move through you. I really, really, really value that and love hearing it. So
yeah, I think both of us, Martha, we want to invite you as a listener, as somebody who watches this video, to let the energies move through you, and how we channel and feel into that. It's an invitation for you to feel into that.
Yeah.
And so we are super excited to hear from you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.